Around 30 kilometers south of Alicante, on a hillside sloping down to the sea, we find the town of Guardamar del Segura. The river, which gives its name to the town, flows through the borough and into the sea quite near the urban centre. The neighbouring towns are Torrevieja, Rojales, San Fulgencio and Elche. The 13,500 inhabitants are spread over a surface area of some 32 square kilometres, which also include 12 kilometres of fine sandy beaches. With the passage of time, Guardamar del Segura has become an age-old enclave of ancestral history and mythical legends, surrounded by a unique natural landscape which has been gradually shaped and modified by the inhabitants of the land. The climate in this area is especially welcoming. Mild winters, warm summers, and an average of 300 days of sunshine every year make Guardamar an ideal destination all year round. Tourism has become the principal source of income for Guardamar, thanks to the diverse array of associated activities: accommodation, hotels, campsites, apartments, along with an important range in retail outlets and eating places. Guardamar is also very well connected. There's an easy link with the A7 motorway going from Alicante to Murcia, and which joins the A37 from Alicante to Cartagena. The city of Alicante is just 35 kilometers away, whilst we are a mere 25 kilometers from the airport at El Altet. The area of Guardamar has been inhabited since ancient times. The presence of the river Segura and the wetlands of its lower course, the proximity of the sea as a source of wealth and communication, together with the existence of high ground, easy to defend and safe from flooding, have made the conditions favourable for human settlements throughout the centuries. A Phoenician port existed on the site of Guardamar between the 8th and 6th centuries before Christ, the geographical situation of which made it a part of the Phoenician sea routes of the western Mediterranean. This settlement was an important precedent for the later splendour of the Iberian culture in this area, testimonies of which are still evident. Vestiges of the Roman era can also be found, whilst the Islamic culture too established settlements in this land. The present-day community of Guardamar dates back to the Christian repopulation of the 13th century, when a group of Catalonian settlers established themselves on the high land which dominates the sea. This very enclave which gives the meaning to the name of the town, Guardamar, looking out to sea. During the medieval era, this town was the only inhabited place on the southern coast of the Kingdom of Valencia, and suffered the harsh conditions of a frontier post with Castile and the Moorish Kingdom of Granada, and with ever-present dangers coming from the sea. The town grew significantly from the 17th century onwards, when the condition of royal town was won back and new terrain was turned over for cultivation. One of the most important historical events for the town came about in 1829. A major earthquake brought about the destruction of the medieval town of Guardamar, as well as claiming several lives. After the catastrophe, the new town was planned by the illustrious José Agustín de Larramendi, along neoclassical urban lines, straight roads with perpendicular avenues orientated from north to south, and 3 symmetrically located squares, and homes designed to withstand the onslaught of possible future earthquakes, low-level constructions with large patios. But despite the improvements, the town soon faced a new danger: the advance of the coastal dunes at the end of the 19th century. The strong easterly winds pushed huge banks of sand towards the new Guardamar, burying cultivated land and even streets in the north of the town. The problem got worse at the beginning of the 20th century. At this point, the state forestry expert Francisco Mira had the idea of replanting the surface of the dunes with vegetation in order to stabilize them and prevent their advance. At the same time, an invaluable natural space was created. The streets of Guardamar del Segura are the mirror of the centuries of culture, art, and tradition which have accompanied the town since its beginnings. Promenades, emblematic buildings, churches, monuments, and archaeological remains are a reflection of the colourful history of the borough. The forestry expert Mira y Botella became one of the most illustrious personalities in the history of Guardamar, thanks to his reforestation project on the dunes. Tribute is paid to him at the Ingeniero Mira Museum, situated in the town centre in the Plaza de la Constitución. The museum houses photographs and objects used in the reforestation, as well as the engineer's office and bedroom. This is one of the most emblematic buildings in the borough. It also houses the tourist office and the visitor reception centre. In the Casa de Cultura, or Cultural Centre, we find the Municipal Archaeological, Ethnological and Paleontological Museum, a diverse selection of the material culture of the district of the Lower Segura, from Phoenician plates and Iberian household objects to a reproduction of the Lady of Guardamar, among other exhibits, particularly objects from the medieval, Islamic and Christian eras, as well as a series of pieces representative of traditional local crafts. In the very heart of the pine grove and the dunes is the enclave of La Fonteta, which conserves an important archaeological complex comprising two distinct elements from different periods and cultures. The Rabita Califal comprises the remains of an Islamic place of prayer dating back to the era of the caliphs. It consists of an architectural complex of 3 blocks separated by 2 streets and features a series of oratorical cells, each with its own mihrab. The main building is the mosque. This type of construction is unique in Europe and is also one of the world's oldest Islamic monuments. The Phoenician port offers some of the best preserved urban remains of the Phoenician colonial era to be found in the Western world, unique in the Valencian region. Here we can appreciate the monumental city wall and the bastion, together with the remains of houses and streets. The highest part of the town was the location of the walled citadel, which housed the old medieval town of Guardamar. Inside was an urban centre with houses, streets and squares. At the highest point was the castle, a spot which had previously undergone different occupations, including the emplacement of a sanctuary in the Iberian era. Certain elements of the defensive structure have been saved, such as the gunpowder bulwark, the perimeter walls, and the late medieval turrets, declared to be Spanish historical heritage monuments. In the centre of the town, opposite the town hall, we find the parish church of St. James, opened to the public in 1892, and designed by Don José Agustín de Larramendi. This is a neoclassical building comprising 3 naves. The tower above the main entrance is outstanding. The interior houses sculptures from the 17th, 18th and mid-20th centuries. To cater for local worshippers, the parish also has 2 hermitages. Our Lady of Fatima, built in the 1950s outside the urban centre, and St. Mary of the Sea, built in the early 70s in the urbanization of Las Dunas, next to the beach. The natural environment of Guardamar del Segura is made up of three distinct but complementary ecosystems, which together create an enclave unique on the Spanish Mediterranean coast. In the first place, the dunes, a natural space beside the sea, covering more than 800 hectares. Their origin is due to the mass of shifting sands stretching north and south of the mouth of the river Segura. Before the threat that these sands represented for the town, the dunes were stabilized by the plantation of diverse varieties of vegetation: pines, palm trees, cypresses, eucalyptus, in a project begun in 1900 and directed by the previously mentioned Francisco Mira, and which led to the creation of a major coastal wooded area, an ecosystem unique in the Western Mediterranean. Near the town centre, but still within the area of the dunes, we find the Alphonse XIII and Queen Sofia parks, conceived as leisure areas with a network of footpaths and gardens. Another interesting ecosystem is the belt of dunes running alongside the succession of beaches bathed by crystal clear water. Els Tossals Beach, to the north of the river mouth, is a naturist beach with wild vegetation. To the south is Els Vivers Beach, next to the leisure port, followed by La Babalonia, Centre and La Roqueta, the most cosmopolitan beaches near the town centre. Then, further south, the solitary, untouched beaches of El Moncayo, El Camp and Les Ortigues, which reaches the salt lagoon of La Mata. The Centre, Roquetas and Vivers beaches have all been granted the European Union's blue flag. To the south of Guardamar, we find the natural park of the lagoon of La Mata, the second natural enclave within the borough. This is a series of wetlands of great importance as a stopover point for migratory birds. This natural expanse, rich in flora and vegetation, covers a surface area of some 3,700 hectares and belongs in part to the borough of Guardamar del Segura. The other ecosystem unique to Guardamar is the mouth of the river Segura itself, La Gola, the location of the fishing and leisure ports, and the agricultural land irrigated by the river. This area is special owing to the projection out to sea, as well as the width of the river channel and the surrounding vegetation. The Voltes del Río Vell is another point of interest, sections of the former river course which have become separated from the present course and are now replanted with bushes and vegetation. There is also a birdwatcher's hide in the thicket of Gola del Segura. In the sector traditionally dedicated to dry weather farming in the southern part of the borough, the rural flavour is maintained with lemon orchards and market gardening, country houses and irrigation reservoirs. Traditional dry weather crops like vines and cereals are also to be found. This is the area known as rural Guardamar. Guardamar is also surrounded by hills, repopulated in the 40s and 50s. Some of the major high points are El Moncayo, Les Raboses, El Pallaret and El Molar. The higher peaks enjoy splendid views over the lagoons of La Mata, with of course the backdrop of the Mediterranean Sea. The community spirit of the people of Guardamar is reflected in the popular festivals which are present throughout the year. The Christmas celebrations take on a high profile in the streets, thanks to all the variety of festive and religious acts taking place. Father Christmas, the Three Wise Men, the popular giant Menjabollos, and of course the children are the real stars of the festival. February sees the celebration of the Michan, the halfway house of the festive year, when Moors and Christians take to the streets to announce that there's only 6 months to go until the festival's proper. And in the full splendor of spring, Baroque Valencian tradition takes to the street in the form of the Holy Week processions. And if there is one thing that sets Guardamar apart from other towns with respect to Holy Week, it is the proliferation of theatrical representations of different aspects of the Passion of Christ. Biblical passages like the seizure of Christ, Mondi, or the entry into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday are all represented during these days of penitence and fervor. The images of the procession thrones also take to the street. In this way, the people of Guardamar manifest their religious traditions in an atmosphere of recollection and respect. The summer solstice, June the 21st, brings the planta, or the setting of the bonfires soon to be burned in the magical ritual of St. John's Night, when the townsfolk, the fire, and the sea melt together into one single spirit. The night before the crema, or the burning, is known as the Night of Magic, a night of dances around the fire when witches, like La Bruixa de la Mel or the Bruixot Mayor, purify the souls of those present with their spells. Summer is time for Moors and Christians, the most deeply rooted popular festivals. Gunpowder, light, colour and music reach every last corner of Guardamar del Segura. During the last 2 weeks of July, and in honour of St. James, the local patron saint, the Moorish and Christian bands parade with their troops and march up to the castle amid the roar and the smell of gunpowder, the basic and fundamental element of these festivities. The culmination of it all is the landing on the beach of the Moorish troops and the representation of the encanta, or the spell, bringing to life ancient legendary stories beside the river Segura, here in this Mediterranean enclave. In September and October, it's the turn of the festivals in honor of the Virgin of Fatima and the Virgin of the Rosary, with the Despertar de los Auroros, dances and processions forming part of yet another deeply rooted tradition. From the land comes the ñora, a type of small dried pepper. After the careful planting and cultivation, the peppers are dried in the traditional way in the dunes of Guardamar. The ñora is a fundamental ingredient in the cooking of Guardamar and the rest of the Valencian region. June sees the celebration of the gastronomical week of the prawn and the pepper, organized by the Guardamar local authority in conjunction with the Guardamar Restaurants Association. An opportunity to sample exquisite menus prepared with these two prized products of local agriculture and fisheries. The borough offers a wide range of hotels, campsites, bars and restaurants where the visitors can sample some of the typical local dishes. From the sea come the highly valued Guardamar prawns, together with a range of seafood-based rice dishes typical of the Valencian region. Rice is also an excellent complement to the fresh produce of the local farmland, like country-style rice with broad beans, artichokes and tender garlic, or rice with pork and vegetables. The Cultural Centre is not only home to the Archaeological and Ethnographical Museum, but also to the library, exhibition centre and presentation room. Within the realm of education, a large number of youngsters take part in July in the summer university and photographic and environmental conferences. Municipal and private installations and infrastructures for congresses make Guardamar an attractive destination for this type of events, with a wide array of facilities to make for excellent professional meetings. The Department of Tourism is working hard to perfect the organisation of a variety of leisure activities for those attending congresses and their companions. In Guardamar, lovers of sport too can take part in water sports like sailing, windsurfing, water skiing, diving or canoeing at the Dunas Marina Leisure Port, with 498 moorings situated at the mouth of the river. Guardamar del Segura boasts a solid array of sports facilities, including the sports complex of Les Raboses and the St. James's Palace Municipal Sports Centre, with excellent installations, and the Manel Estiarte heated swimming pool. This is also the ideal place for walking, cross-country cycling, horse riding and photography amid the dunes, pine groves and the surrounding countryside. All this makes Guardamar del Segura the ideal place to watch time go by in peace and tranquility. Guardamar del Segura, culture, leisure and nature.